let me know when you're there. Are you aware that STR, the developers are selling a product called STR Mix NGS?
I was not aware, no.
Okay. Now, sequencing analysis is different than what you did in this case, correct?
Correct.
And how so?
As I said, sequencing is looking at the individual sequence, the individual bases that make up your DNA, as opposed to the testing that I'm performing, which is looking at length variations. So STR testing, which is the testing I perform, looks at areas of the DNA that are known to be highly variable between individuals, and there are areas where the DNA sequence repeats itself over and over again. And depending on who you are as an individual, you may have a different number of repeats present at that location. So the testing we're performing is looking at those length variations. There's a distinction between, say, if you have 10 repeats versus 12 repeats.
But you're not looking within those lengths to see what the sequence of the DNA is.
Correct.
And that's what this new technology is designed to look at.
Correct.
And the reason it's designed to look at that is because it's been found that there are DNA areas that are different in sequence, even though they're the same length. Is that true?
I think the reason for developing NGS software is to add another tool to a forensic biologist tool belt.
Okay. Now, could you go to 154, please, for the witness only? You're familiar with this chart?
Yes.
Okay, this lists all the alleles that you found for all the testing in your 3 analysis, correct?
No, it looks like,
No, you were right, 154. Yeah, this is one, what's the exhibit on this?
This is 154 in the second page.
Okay. You're familiar with this chart, right?
I reviewed the first page of this chart. I have
Sure.
not reviewed the entire
Go to
thing.
the first page. This lists the alleles that you found, correct?
For the known samples, yes.
Okay, now go to the second page. And is it true that for the alleles of interest in this case, one of the alleles of interest is at the D3 location, allele 17?
One of the locations that we look at on the DNA strand is called D3. That's a location, yes.
Right, and in this case, the 17 allele is important because Mr. Robinson had a 17 allele, correct?
Correct.
And some of the evidence had a 17 allele
Correct.
at that location.
Correct.
So as I understand the way you do this, you look and compare whether those are the same number, basically.
I wouldn't state that's how we do our comparison. So it's not just number matching. We're using STR Mix, the STAR Mix software, in order to perform an analysis of the software that looks at the possibilities for a DNA profile and make comparison to the knowns that way. We aren't using a chart and just doing number matching.
Yeah, and I wasn't suggesting you did, but you're looking at the alleles and measuring the peaks, and it's a fairly sophisticated process, correct?
Correct.
But the bottom line is you're comparing alleles one against another.
Correct.
So if a person is a 17-17 and the evidence sample is a 17-17, you're looking at that comparison.
Correct.
And again, measuring only length.
Correct.
But it's true, is it not, that researchers have found at that particular allele, the D317 allele, that there are actually 3 different 17s, 17A, 17B, 17C.
Yeah, so there's something known as isoalleles. What that is you may have, in this case, a 17 allele, but the sequence within that 17 allele is different. So 2 people may have a 17, but they may have a different sequence within their 17 allele.
And it's been found that there is a 17A, a 17B, and a 17C, correct?
Objection. Relevance to the probable cause hearing. At this point, I think we've once again gone beyond probable cause, and based on Mr. Grunander's argument, I would invoke his argument here in the case law that he referenced, and I object to this question.
Let me withdraw the question, reframe it, and move beyond it.
All right, so I'll sustain the objection. It will be reframed, and we'll go from there.
It's true, is it not, that at least 5 of the locations of interest in this case, researchers have found that the alleles that you were looking at, these isoalleles, have different sequences but the same length.
Objection. Relevance. The witness has testified she does not do sequencing analysis here, and that's what the question is asking, is about sequencing analysis.
Counsel?
The point, though, is that her testing cannot distinguish between these isoalleles, and therefore it goes to the weight of the comparisons.
But if she didn't do that,
Yeah, that's the point, is that she didn't do it, and therefore she's not in a position to draw conclusions.
Mr. McBride?
That proffer is inaccurate, that she's not able to draw conclusions because she did not do NGS or sequencing analysis. She has testified that her lab and the analysis she did here is not sequencing analysis, it's something different. Whether or not she could do sequencing analysis is irrelevant to the analysis that she did do. If Mr. Burt wants to call an expert to say sequencing analysis is better or something like that, that's fine. But this expert does not do sequencing analysis. Therefore, the line of questioning that goes into sequencing analysis is irrelevant to her testimony.
Let me see if I could lay a further foundation.
All right, so I'm going to sustain the objection.
Sure.
And the question may be re-asked if counsel chooses.
When you do your analysis using length only, do you go by the rule that if any STR locus fails to match when comparing the genotypes between two or more samples, then the comparison of profiles between the question and reference sample is usually declared a non-match, regardless of how many other loci match?
No, it's not quite that simple. What you're speaking of is an exclusion, is that correct?
Yeah, right.
So it's possible for DNA evidence we spoke about, it's possible that DNA evidence be degraded. In a case like that, there may be the potential that some of the profile has what we call dropped out. So it's not present. In that case, we wouldn't expect necessarily to have a inclusion or exclusion at that location because there's no information present there. So it's not quite as simple as is every allele in this chart present in the evidence. There's more to it than that.
If you had a difference in sequence between a known and a question across many loci, would you exclude the person?
It depends
Again,
on,
objection, Your Honor. We're going back into sequencing, which is not the analysis that was done in this case.
Mr. Burt?
Again, Your Honor, if there could be an exclusion based on this and the testing was not done, I think that is relevant.
But as it relates to this witness and her firsthand knowledge, I'm not seeing that tie-in as it relates to her.
All right, let me move on then.
So I'll sustain the objection.
Now, you said that all the samples you looked at in that one report were mixtures, correct?
correct.
And the number you get in the likelihood ratio depends on how many contributors you estimate, right? The number is going to vary if you say I think it's a mixture of 2 people versus I think it's a mixture of 5 people.
It's not necessarily the number of contributors. The likelihood ratio speaks to the weight of the evidence. And so it's comparing known individuals to the unknown sample. It could be a low number and be a single source sample. It could be a high number and be a 4-person mixture. It's not necessarily directly correlated with the number of contributors.
Let me ask you if you agree with this. This is from the NIST mixture study. A likelihood ratio numeric value is not a measurement of a physical quantity. Do you agree with that?
Correct.
Rather, it is a ratio of probabilities in the opinion of the expert assessing the likelihood ratio, and is dependent on the specific propositions used to formulate it, and also on the individual making the assessment.
Correct. Yes, I agree.
And does the final likelihood ratio depend on the number of contributors you assume?
No, it does not.
It has no effect whatsoever.
It can have an effect. It's possible. It's possible multiple other factors could contribute to the likelihood ratio.
Is it somehow difficult to figure out how many contributors there are in a sample?
I guess I would say that I use my, my training, education, and experience in order to determine the number of contributors present in a profile.
I noticed throughout your report, you use the phrase, for instance, with regard to the 1.2 sample, the profile consistent with at least five contributors, at least one of which is male. And for 1.1, you say, the profile is consistent with at least 4 contributors. I assume by the word at least, you're signaling that it could be more.